Okay, Yehudi, can you hear Zadie now? Okay.
Did you ever fix my lights?
Come. Zadie, everybody can hear you now. Everyone on the whole Zoom can hear you.
There people?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, come. Vote.
No, that's about the electric company. I'm talking about my desk lamps, so they have no light. Didn't come yet. Okay. Shikeach.
Vote. Could you want me to close
Okay,
Zadie's office?
so are we on?
Does it get any noise? Vote. Could you want me to close Zadie's office? So it doesn't get any noise?
How do I get the people?
Who do you will take care of it, Zadie? Who do you take care of it? You just have to talk.
Okay. I'll start in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Hey, Malks.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbos, how are you guys?
Zadie, we're closing the door. If you need something, press this. I'll just make sure it works.
No, but that's Uncle David, no.
I'm gonna tell him to ignore it.
Appreciate it, but you went away.
Huh?
You going to Shech now?
No. I'm putting this stuff away.
You can make me a hot tea with honey.
Yep. Okay, it works, and they know not to do it.
You were down there before. You were down there before. Okay, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to start it. I have to figure out what to say. Okay. the end of last week's Sedra, it ends off with the years of Yishmael. And Rashi makes a cheshbon that the reason that it tells us this is because to find out that 14 years are missing in the cheshbon. And those 14 years, Yaakov was in Yeshivas Evel, when Shem was already dead. So Yeshivas Evel. And for those 14 years, he didn't sleep. Now, that can't be, because the Gemara in the Durham says that if someone makes a neder for 3 days, that he won't sleep, we give him Malchus right away. You don't even bother him to see that he can't keep it, because it's impossible to keep. A person cannot go without 3 days without sleep. So therefore, he has to sleep. So what I would think is that means that he never went to bed. He sat by the table and or by the stender, and whenever he fell asleep like this for about 2 minutes, and then woke up like that, and then went down like that. Now, soldiers sleep like that, and it seems the few minutes gives you enough energy for a few more minutes. But you never really get a good night's sleep. In other words, you're sleeping, maybe, I don't have no idea how long you're sleeping, but you're sleeping, but you're not sleeping a good night's sleep. If became the cheshbon that's worth it. In other words, the new talk about how much it takes before it can be totally effective. And it comes out to 10 hours a day. 10 hours a day, you're wasting too much time, right? So by us, we hold miyuchina, that even though maybe we're not at top perfection, but the fact that we're up a lot more hours, we can accomplish a lot more. And hopefully, I think that the adrenaline of enjoying the Torah has a tremendous effect on a person, that he really likes what he's doing, that doesn't feel the tiredness, because otherwise you have a big shiloh of the goyin. And he was able to become the goyin, so obviously he was able to learn. So you got to say that the adrenaline, that the wanting to learn was so much it overcame all the tiredness that he felt. But basically, that's what he is supposed to reach, that Madrega. Anyway, so it says Vayaitzai Shava. So it's a little, he goes to 14 years, and where is that? Where was Shiva Seva? I don't know. And he went to Choron. Probably in Shalayim. It's likely, because that's what Shem was. I guess the yeshiva was there. And he went to Choron. So Rashi says that what's it tell me the word Vayaitzai Yaakov, what do you have to do Vayaitzai Yaakov? All you have to say Vayelech Yaakov Choron. So why is it there? Because Tzaddik leaves a town, is Ozav Ziva, Hadora, one more, Ziva, Hadora, whatever it is, maybe you can't find it. Ziva, Hadora, and Hoida. Those are the 3. Right. Now, it's a big kasha. Yankee Favino, Yitzhak Avinu, Rivka, and Menu was still there. So if they were still there, so what's the problem? You have all the Hanoi, all the Shkina, all the what do you call they have from them. So what do you mean that it left? Because Yaakov left. So I want to tell you this, that when a big person leaves, that remains his hashpoya. But when a small person leaves, I don't mean small in the sense of small, but a smaller than the big, that hashpoya leaves. I'll give you a mush what I mean by that. Let's say in a regular shul, There used to be a guy, quiet guy, never said a word. He used to dive and daven in the corner. And all of a sudden he moved out of the neighborhood or he's gone. And everybody says, where's that guy that used to daven in the corner? He used to see how he davened. It meant something. We was an inspiration to us all. Where did he go? All of a sudden they realized that he's a big man. But that means that that's in everybody's like that. And they say over that in Kelm, and I say I've seen it in the Yeshiva by us, that in Kelm, when not all the Talmidim were there, he would say this, and the Yeshiva is not here. Because the Yeshiva is made up of everybody. And the Yeshiva keeps changing. You have a Talmidim leave, Talmidim come, and it's a different Yeshiva. But it's a good Yeshiva in any case. And that's the point of, that he leaves. But that Eindruck, that impression, we expect for every Ben Torah to be able to make. If he ever leaves a place, it should have an effect on the place. Anyway, so again, Vayifga Vamokim Vayolem Shom, he comes to Beis Hamikdash. It's not so posh that I first came to Choron, then he went back to the Beis Hamikdash. How can I pass the place where my forefathers davened and I didn't? What's Pshat Taki? I mean, he went. He should know where he's going. That's not a problem. I think it's like this. He was in yeshiva for 14 years. Right? Now he's going to become a balabas. Completely different attitude. 14 years in yeshiva, I don't go to sleep. I sleep, but I don't go to sleep. But now that I'm about a bus, the first thing I do is I go to sleep. And that happened to be him to Chol, and he thought he would not need any backups because here's the guy straight out of yeshiva, 14 years. He's going to be a real Torah, Kodesh, and everything else. He comes to Chol and he says, you better go back and pray a little bit because he sees what you can become if you don't have the Torah with you. So he went back to Chol. Anyway, he goes to sleep over there. He has a dream. This dream, it's gone to his whole interpretations of the dream. It's not Negeya. These are considered a lower level madrege of nevuah, meaning that it's only an interpretation. It's a scene. It's a dream. It's not words. The words of the B'nai told him, okay, that is words. Now in there he puts in a big yesod. He says, I am the God of Avraham Avicha and Elekei Yitzchak, and the God of Yitzchak. Right? Now, we find the concept of the God of Avraham. Where did it say that? By the Milah, tells him you're going to make his halach lefonai b'yesomim. That is the madrege that I want you to reach, and you have to do it through Milah and through changing the name and the whole business that goes on with that. But it's a thing that until then I was not your God. I was God, but I wasn't your God. Now that you accepted my way of life, my way of my laws and everything else, now I am your God. Okay, so that's the first one. It's halach lefonai v'yesomim. What he's got to do for that is we have to become completely different ways of raising our children. And this is probably one of the problems we have with how we raise our children. The ones that want our children to have what everything the Goyim have, and so on, it's very hard to get them back to learning Torah. And they stay out of it. I'll have sometimes one of these studious kids, so, they'll remain good. But most of the time, they don't become, they'll be fun, they'll be put on sit and film, they'll daven every morning, but their lifestyle has nothing to do with Torah. That's one. Now, if we don't want to have that, how do we have to raise our kids? That is what Avram Avinu had to do. It's important for us to impress on our children that finishing a Masechta, making a Siyum, is as important, as good as a state championship. And as long as we don't put that into them, then they still want the state championship. It's important for us to make that, to build it into them, that this is what we look forward to. This is our enjoyment. This is it. That's his halach l'fon Vayaitzai. Like Yitzchak, we don't find anything. Like Yaakov, we'll discuss in a few minutes because that's in this week's set. But like Yitzchak, there isn't any. So I assume it has to do with the Akedah. And even though it doesn't say, I am your God for this, but L'maisa, we understand what God demands of us. So therefore, maybe that's also what it was meant. Okay. He's totally promising the whole thing. And then Vayikatz Yaakov Mishnasa, Yaakov wakes up. God is here and I don't know anything about it. So I was, he feels very bad. Right? This is a wonderful place. The Beis Hamikdash is going to be built here and everything else. And then it says, Yaakov got up in the morning. That means he went back to sleep. If he got up in the morning, he had to go back to sleep. So the idea is that Yaakov realized that what did the Rebbeinu Shalom lead him over here to do is sleeping. And until now, his hasagah was that as long as I'm in yeshiva, I don't go to sleep. Okay, I have 14 years of that. And now I'm finished with yeshiva. Now I can have all the fun I want. I can go to sleep. And the Rebbeinu wants to show him that that's not the way you're supposed to live your life. Sorry. That's not the way you're supposed to live your life. What you're supposed to do is to live, to use the gashmis that you have to reach the ruchnius. That's what God wanted. God wanted to show we need sleep. I made people to have sleep, but the sleep should serve only as much as it takes to serve me. 5 hours a day, 2 hours a day, 6 hours a day, whatever a person needs. But it's with a cheshbon to serve me. That's what the whole purpose of the Gashmis is. So that's a new hashkafa that he has. That means there's no such thing as being a balabas. No such thing as being yeshiva bacha. That's only according to how many hours you have a day to learn. But as far as primary, what's prime in your life, that there's no question. I just Hashem. And therefore, I always have to use whatever gashmis I have for this Hashem. That's the purpose. Okay, it's a new hashkafa to go. Okay. So what do you do when you get up in the morning? He made into a matzeva. Okay. Now you find in Parshas Shoftim that you don't want to make a matzeva. The Sonei Hashem L'kecha. God hates a matzeva. So Rashi says a very interesting thing. He says even though the Me'avos he loved it, now he doesn't like it anymore. Where does he find Me'avos that he liked it? The only place is over here, right? So you see that the Rebbeinu made it. Now, what's the difference in a matzeva and a mizbeach? Matzeva is a single stone. That means it says, this is how far I came. I don't intend to go any further. This is him. This is me. Right? So that's not good. right? The Masbeach, you keep adding one stone on top of another stone, on top of another stone. There's always continual growth. Okay, that's the two different things. So Benishon doesn't love Matzeva. So I don't see why we'd love it with Mayovis either. I mean, the whole idea of the obvious was that they made it the foundation of Klal Yisrael. It's continual growth. So it doesn't make sense. And all the places we find that Yerusha Mizbeach, it's the only place you find that he made a Matzeva. But this is what I want to claim that he put on the Matzeva. What did he put on the Matzeva? He put oil on the Matzeva. Where do you have a carbon of oil alone? I mean, you have it with a mincha, but you don't have it alone. Where do you have a carbon of oil? Yet, oil is the biggest gashmish you can have. Have you ever heard the expression, where's the fat? The fat is the extra, the thing that gives flavor, the thing that tastes to something. And in reality, oil has that. It's able to cook with it. It means all your French fries and all the other things they have that come from frying with in oil. But you also have that you can rub it on your skin and like lights, and you use it for fuel, to light. So if you're talking about something that represents a lot of gashmias, that's oil. And that's what he put on the Matzeva. Well, gashmias has an end to it. Ruchnias, which is a Mizbeach, that has no end. I put one stone, another stone, another stone. It doesn't end. I can always keep adding. But Matzeva, that's it. There's nothing more to add to it. It's finished. So Gashmias has an end. That's the way we have to know it. You also find the expression by Matzeva, Shtelta Matzeva, when a person dies, the tombstone is called a Matzeva. Why? Because he can't do anything anymore. He's finished. This is what he is. This is how much he's accomplished. And there's nothing more. But do you notice that there's people go to Pesach Forest and take little stones, they put it on the Matzeva. What are they trying to do with that? I think they're trying to say a commitment. You can't add to yourself, no matter how big you are in this world. But we, by following you, can add on your schusim. That's our commitment to put it when we put the stone down. We're committing ourselves to doing that. Okay, so then Yaakov made a neder. If God will be with him and he'll guide him, protect him, and have what he needs, B'shafti b'sholom l'beisovi. So Rashi translates that to mean B'shafti el-sholom, without chet, without an avera. Then I will accept this concept as a lakus. Then I'll make God, Hashem into my God. This hashkofa. And this stone will be the beginning of the Beis HaMikdash. Okay. Because this concept is a very important concept. Therefore, this is what he said. Why is that important that he said, Shafti B'Sholem? You know, a person who goes on a starvation diet, meaning literally starves, he's able to do it. After 3 days, he's not even hungry anymore. If he doesn't do the carbs, he's going to be unhungry in 3 days. 3 days he'll be hungry. If you keep eating a 1,200 or 900 and 800 calorie diet, you'll be hungry every single day. And you'll always have that Yetzirah for, can I have another bite? And the thing there. And all these things is because you're supposed to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu with, don't take that extra bite. I believe that the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't mean that one should not have a knife for him, because he distinctly says in the bracha of Ilanes, what do you call it? To make this for people to enjoy. So therefore, he does want people to enjoy his world. made it to what you enjoyed. But don't take more than you need to enjoy. So I give a mushroom. Let's say, in a perfect diet, a guy needs three ounces of protein every day. So I can take it out of sardines, a can of sardines, or I can take 3 ounces of a rib steak, same protein. I can take the rib steak, but not 4 ounces, 3 ounces. It's not an easy thing to do, but that is what the Rebbeinu wants from us. However, we should be able to reach some of the points on this. Okay, now he makes an edit there. Whatever you give me, I will give you back a tenth. Wouldn't it be easier to say to God, just give me 90%, you keep the 10%, you give it to whoever you think needs it, and that's it. Why do you have to give it to me to give out? But obviously I want that money to give out, because what makes me attached? How can I maintain this hashkafa? I can only maintaining it to being attached to Makom HaTorah. I can become a donor by them, important donor. Therefore, they carve me. I'm involved. I'm the Hashiv's friend. I'm the Rav's friend. Whatever it is that I am, and he's Mikar of me. And because he's Mikar of me, I am able to live this way. If he wouldn't be Mikar of me, I'll end up being in the Olam HaGashmi completely. So therefore, I want to have this responsibility to be the giver. It's not enough that the Rebbeinu should be the giver. That's the main thing. There's a lot of drushes on the story with the three Adorim. I'm not going to get involved in that, but he also the reason why they closed up the thing, they had to need all the shepherds to unroll the thing because nobody should steal the water. Everyone should only have their share of whatever they need the water. And they made it so big a stone that one guy couldn't do it anyway. So that's what the protection. And Yaakov was able to do it. And Rachel comes and and he feeds, he dresses them up, and he gives them to drink and everything else. And he cries because she's not going to be married in Moshe Machpelah with him. In reality, the years that they shared together were very, very few. You figure it out if you want. They get married after 7 years in love. He stays altogether 20 years by him, so it's 13 years that he was there. Comes on the way home, and she dies. So you're talking about basically about 13, 14, the total marriage, whatever existed. Maybe you can squeeze out some more years in that. But that's what you're dealing with. That's all there was between Rachel and Yaakov. And Leah was not much more, because she dies also before they go down to Mitzrayim. Okay. Now, Laban was in reality, in my book, a nice guy. He was a rotten bum, but he's a nice guy. What does that mean? If you ever live near a mafia person, you'll find out that they're very polite, very helpful, and the fact that they kill doesn't affect anything because that's business. People do a lot of things in business. So therefore, it doesn't affect my personality. I'm a nice guy. Reuven was a nice guy, even though Rashi seems to try to make him into what do you call, but they see from the psukim that it's not like that. The first pasuk was in Parshas the Tolos, in Chayesor. It says when he saw it, he says he ran out to the street first. Then when he saw the jewelry on his hand, he came right out and told the guy, Ani Panisis Habayis. I cleaned out the house while I made this up. And Rashi says, why did he run with his? Because he figured he'd get more reward. She got a reward. He's going to get one also. I mean, it could be, as I say, it was also one of his chizbenis, but no. Avram Avinu sent Eliezer to his brother's family because they were nice people. He's a very helpful fellow, I love him. And therefore he ran out to help. That's what the pasuk says. And then it says when he saw all the stuff on his sister and he heard what he said to him, he knew that this guy was from Avram Avinu. And he comes from Avram, so he doesn't want any Avodah Zarah in the house. So he cleaned out the house for him. He's such a nice guy. They'll leave him get rid of his own God for Yenim's comfort. That's a meredik madrege. Avram didn't have such madrege. Avram made the guys wash their feet before they came into his house, right? He wasn't so what do you call it? Nobody special, or so cool about it. Whatever it is, it bothered him. And over here, Reuven is such a nice guy. He takes out the God. He takes out his own God for Eliezer. The difference is they have the genetics of being nice people. But if you don't perfect them, all you're going to do is be a nice guy, but you're not going to have any values. So yeah, be a nice guy. You can be the mafia. You can kill a guy and be a nice guy at the same time. Rivka, on the other hand, was a nice person, Balas Chesed, but she didn't let anybody touch her. In other words, it says Ishla Yador. Now, the funny part about it is, you got to tell that about my grandmother. My grandmother is telling me that she was not a tramp. Now, we insulted under normal circumstances. So why am I not upset? Because it shows that she had values and principles. She was a nice person, but even though it meant to help somebody else, make someone more comfortable, make someone have more enjoyment in life, she refused it when it became to something that was not proper. But anything else she did for you. That's the difference between love and envy.
Okay.
So he says over here, you're hanging around. You worked for me for a month. What can I pay you? So obviously he's interested in helping him out in the pay. Now he gets into, you want mine. Well, what do you call it? That's a different story. You ask me for money, maybe I'd get along with you. But what you do, you ask me for my daughter. Okay? 7 years. And those 7 years probably was very good. And it's a very funny pasuk over here. It says that he worked for 7 years for her, and it was like single days in his eyes. If you have a title for something, the longer it takes to get it, the more drive you have, the more desire you have. So how can it be Yom Machodim? It's just like simple days, not like 7 years. 7 years should have been like 20 years. It felt like it anyway. So I think it's like when a person buys a house, a new house, and he wants to be involved in the furnishing of every part of the house. And they don't have it all the time right away. They look here and they look there and they found, I found a dining room set for this house. I found a bedroom set for this house. I found new drapes for this house. Each thing makes you appreciate the house more and more constantly because you're working to enjoy the house. So that doesn't make, so whatever the love that he had for Rachel was that with each day that he worked, it was kind of more of her in the sense that now I have her more. That was like Yom Machot. It wasn't a desire, basic desire. No, it wasn't what he was talking about. Okay. Anyway, love him, fools him, and puts in Leah instead of Rachel. And there's two individual midrashim about this. The Medrash Rabbah says that whole night they had a fight. Yaakov kept calling her a crook, the daughter of a crook. And she turned around and said to him, who said, Ani Esav b'charecha? Don't ask me how she knew about these things, but she said, who said, Ani Esav b'charecha? And therefore, you feel you're the b'char? Then she didn't consider him a liar. In other words, you feel you're the b'char, right? So then I'm the older one, then you're mine. The only reason you're her is because you're the younger one, but you're not the younger one, you claim. You're the b'char, so I'm the b'char too. So we're both b'char. Therefore you're mine. The Medrash Tanchuma says all the gifts that Yaakov Avinu sent to Leah, to Rachel, Lava gave to Leah. So as far as Leah was concerned, she was being wooed for 7 years. And as far as she didn't know, she was expecting to be married to Yaakov Avinu. In other words, Yaakov Lavan planned this 7 years before. He didn't plan it at the last minute, it's not right, I didn't get him another husband for Rachel. No, you're going to fool him for 7 years. And then he says, I'll give you, so then when he found out the slave, he complains to him, says, I'll give you, for another 7 years, you can have Rachel too, or 1 week from now. That means in Sheva Brachas, we don't you don't make 2 weddings in 1 day, 1 week in this case, thing there, because you have still have Sheva Brachas from the other one, and therefore we don't make a wedding then. So after that 7 days, after the Sheva Brachas, he married her, and he has her, and he has to work now another 7 years. So in reality, he didn't work 7 years for Leah and 7 years for Rachel. He worked 14 years for Rachel. He didn't work for Leah at all. He worked for Rachel 14 years. Yeah. Okay. And it says, Vayar Hashem kisnu aleya, God saw that Leah is hated. And what happened? Okay. And she said, what? God said, now my husband will love me. There's a bigger difference between the two. Anyways, or learned it. And not everybody learns it anymore. But Julius Caesar, right? So when Brutus makes his statement why he killed Julius Caesar, he says, I love Julius Caesar, but I loved Rome more. So there's a concept of love and love more. That was similarly that was what Leah seemed to think there is. In other words, he loves Rachel, but he loves more than me. Now that I gave him a kid, he'll love me also more. Right? The Rebbeinu said, no, there's no such thing as a bigger love. If you don't have the same love for someone, that's called your snua. You hate him. In other words, it's not a lessening of love. It's an addition of hate. Now, obviously, it doesn't hate them. I'm going to kill you, but whatever it is, I don't feel that warm to you. I don't feel that good to you, and that's a type of hate. And Leah realizes that by Shimon's birth, when she says that I was hated. So he gave me a sonship. Okay. And Levi was supposed to be because because he got 3 kids. I can't handle 3 kids alone. I got to hand my right hand is one, my left hand is the other one. Who takes care of the third one? So my husband's got to help me. And then she gave birth to Yehuda, and it says, Apamay this Hashem. Now, they knew that there's supposed to be 4 wives and 12 kids. That somehow they knew. However, they knew, I don't know. That's what they knew. 3 kids, it would be har chelik. And you're thankful for getting your chelik, regardless. God gave you your chelik, you appreciate it. She always thanked God. The one that she thanked, the last one, Yehuda, is one that now that I got it, is only because somebody else lost it. In other words, once she has 4 kids, the other 3 wives cannot give birth to 3 kids each. One guy's going to have to go lose 2 kids. And that's what she says, that I recognize the goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he gave me more than my share. Now, why he took it away from Yenim, that doesn't bother me. I'm not getting involved in that. And it's an interesting thing that Rabbeinu Yonah in the beginning of Avos, in his Dagdom, in the first Mishnah, explains that that being a judge is the biggest way to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because what does Rebbeinu Shem do in this world? He takes from one and he gives to the other. And that's what a giant does. He gives from one, takes from one, and gives to the other. So this thing, that there is a concept of that we don't necessarily add nechasim to the world, we just trade them around. So that itself is also a judgment. Come to judge it. It's justice. It's not stam. I decided I think that guy got too many. Had it too long already. It's your turn now. No, there's a cheshbon to it. The cheshbon is that Leah was supposed to have at least 4 kids. So she has 4 kids. Rachel now sees she doesn't have. So, and this is, I like the Ramban's pshat and Rashi's pshat in the Indian of why they gave over there as avodim and the shifches to their husbands. Hogo, why my shifcha? Because my shifcha is me. She's my alter ego. She knows everything that I do. There's no secrets between me and my shifcha. So therefore, even when I do things that are considered immoral, she's part of me. She knows about it. And therefore, if she has a child, it's my child. She belongs to me, and that child belongs to me. I didn't have the schus to carry it, but it's still my child. So using that logic, you can hear the same thing of it. I mean, because I don't understand the Rashi's cheshbon that if you put in a tzora into your house, you zeichet the kids. I don't see why I have to suffer to have that. I'm worthy, I'm worthy. I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy. Okay, so she has things. She gives 2 kids over, and she gets Yisachar. She gets done enough Naphtali. And Leah sees that she's got 2 more kids, so she gives her a shifcha zilpa, and she gets God Moshe. If you find in all the brachas from Yaakov Avinu all the way into the machnes and so on, the counting of Klal Yisrael, Naphtali always comes last, but he's not last. He's 3 shvatim before Leah. So why is he last? So I claim that the reason that he was able to do this is because he is responsible for the birth of God and Asher. But God is counted together with Reuven and Shimon, so therefore we don't count on him. And Asher is the one that's left over, and he's the cause of it. because she saw by the second kid, she saw, so she gave over. Now we have a big kasha. How do we work out 12 kids to be born in 7 years? I'm sorry about that. 11 kids in 7 years. Right? Yeah, now you're talking about you got 4 women. Okay, that's true. So the particular Belezer uses that every baby was a 7-month baby, and it seems that if you work with that cheshbon, it works that everyone was born before the next one was even conceived. The Rashiva once told me that they're 10 months apart, so there must be some kind of medrash like that. But whatever, with 10 months apart, you also can't have it. It's not going to work. So how do you do it? So I come out with this cheshbon that Reuven, Shimon, Levi were born, and she became pregnant with Yehuda. When Rachel saw she was pregnant with the 4 kids, she gave over her Bilha to Yaakov Avinu. So at that time, Don is going to be only a couple of months younger than Yehuda. And then the next one is going to be a full one, Naphtali. And then when she saw that she's pregnant with Naphtali, she gives over her Shifa Zilpa to Luan, and Zilpa will get it, the first kid. And then the second one. When she saw she's pregnant with Osha, she said that the Benishlam, whatever it is, and then she got Yisachar and Zvulun and Baruch Hashem. So if you figure out the things, have it in the book figured out, all of them, how it's possible that you can have that many kids within 11 years, within 7 years. Okay. Yeah. Reuven went in the time and he found the doyim, and he comes back, and Rachel would like the doyim. The doyim have some kind of skula to children, so she would want to do the doyim. And Reuven is privy to an argument now between the two of them. And he hears his mother say that you stole my husband. You want to take the doim of my son? So therefore, he feels that Leah feels second fiddle to Rachel, right? And that's what caused him to have the chet. What did he do? He changed the beds when after after Rachel died. He moved the bed. I don't think it means the beds, but whatever it means, dresser or something, because Yaakov Avinu was rich enough and not silly enough to schlep a bed for it every night to different tent. So obviously he had 4 beds, but I guess a dresser you don't need, because the dresser you still only need a few of the pieces, your underwear, your pajamas, your whatever it is. That's a little bag, and you can go to the next house. So you don't need it. I have one place I put it. The question is, how come Yaakov did it? Right? Why did Yaakov do it? However we're going to tighten it up, it's still whatever he wants to do, this lesson. But the question still becomes, why did Yaakov do it? So I want to tie it that Yaakov's cheshbon was, I don't want to, I don't have any first number 1 wife and number 2 wives. They're both number 1 wives. And if they both would have died in Eretz Yisrael, where they're supposed to be in Hebron and stuff like that, they both were buried with me in the Osam Achpelah. He would have had 2 wives buried with him in the Osam Achpelah. So I don't have number 2. But how do I show she's not number 2? If I put it in her tent, then everybody's going to say she was number 2, and the only reason it's in her tent now is because she graduated to number 1. So I put it in a shifchus tent, that nobody's going to have such a havamina. And that's the truth. No one had such a havamina. Yaakov, I mean, Reuven had this Havamim because of his situation, but I'm sure that as soon as he did it, he had chawat and pachas kamayim. He jumped the gun before thinking it through. That's what made lose the malchus and the kahuna, and whatever it is. That's what it was. But that's the answer. I think there was no point of it. But also it tells us why this has to do with the Messiah. That this lesson of Reuven, that mi goram Reuven to be moide Yehuda, Parshas Bracha, says a bracha, is to teach us this nekuda, that it's not a personal zach Reuven Yehuda, it's a Klal Yisrael. In other words, that they are gedolim in Yisrael, and you have to follow the gadol. You don't understand the reason why he said something. Good, so you may want to disagree, but you know that he has a reason. You don't like the reason, that's your problem. You're not the chief. When you become the chief, you'll make your reasonings. But until then, he has it. As long as he has a cheshbon, he didn't do it without cheshbon. And that's what the Torah wants to tell us here, that he had a cheshbon on why he did what he did. Okay. And then she had dinner. And you see the love in the way of her towards Rachel is, even though she felt whatever she felt, but my sister cannot have less children, less boys in the Shvatim than the Shvachis. And therefore that was important. That was so the daughter that was born. Now, this comes into very to surrogate motherhood. And who's the mother? In Eretz Yisrael, they're knowing that the mother is the egg mother, and therefore they don't listen to the what do you call it, the Targum Yonason, because they say who's Yonason. You know, we hold he's Yonason ben Uziel. He says who said so. So their attitude towards him is no, that's not him. If you hold this Targum Yonason, okay, so now you know what Tani says. So you have to think of it. But I think they forget about one thing. There's a piyut that we say on Rosh Hashanah. That's the last of Avraham Avinu's piyutim there. And they might be in Shachris the first day. And it says over there, the same one, and Rashi quotes that piyut by saying that Rachel was always afraid that Yaakov will divorce her and Esav will marry her. And in the end of that piyut, when he talks like that, he also says God switched the babies. That means it's the birth mother. That is the mother. So it comes out to be a big difference in the thing. I also think for other reasons, the birth mother should be considered the mother, is because that way you don't miss up, you don't get goyim in Klal, so you don't get, what do you call it, because nobody wants to be megalit. This is not my husband's kid, or that's another. I mean, they're not my husband's kid. It is, but not the wife's kid. That the egg came from somewhere else. She doesn't want that advertised. So she doesn't want it advertised. So if she gets the egg from a goy, the kid's going to be a goy. So then you'd be machshav Klal Yisrael. But if you go after the birth mother, I don't care where she got the egg. It's after the birth mother, and therefore the kid is always a Jew. Right? So that's very important to make that cheshbon. And but I'm saying they still hold that way, as far as I know. Others, I changed their mind, but the big ones, but they're not here anymore, so I don't know. Whatever it is. Okay. Okay, so now we know when once he had the 11 kids, he had Yosef, and that's the one that's going to fight Esav. Now it's safe for him to go back to Mitzrayim, to El Canaan, and face Esav, because that's what's going to happen. Esav is going to try and stop him, and he's going to meet him, and whatever it is. So, but now that I have the Yosef, I can go. Okay. On this hand, the beloved begs him, please do me a favor, because he made a lot of sheep. He had boys he didn't have before, and he had a lot of bracha came to Lavan because Yaakov was there. So he wants to please hang around. So he says, so what do you want for salary? He says, I need a salary. I got to make up some money for the family. So he tells him, okay, pick your salary. Now, the salary that he picked, that, the spotted things, the things like, was the assumption that they're very few of them. But it happened to be, there became a lot. But Lavan's white ones or black ones, whatever colors he had, those were more than what Yaakov had. He had a big, he was richer and richer and richer than he was before. But when you think about, but I could even be even richer than that. Yaakov stole my money. What did he do? He didn't steal anything. He's the one that gave you the money, right? But the fact is that he did it. He gave you the money, but he did it by making himself a fortune by himself. So this is like you have an employee in a company that's such a genius that he makes the company worth so much more money. And the boss gets a lot more money, but he also gets a lot of money. So therefore, sometimes you get that jealousy that comes in there that, if I get it, it should be mine. And that's what Yaakov saw from Lavan, and that they didn't really forgive him the money for that. Okay. The mathematics of Rashi seems to be a little strange, because he has that all that traveled, that Yaakov traveled in 6 days, Lavan made up in the 3 days, 4 days. Because it should have been by Yom Havi. It's a Yom Hashvi. Now the cheshbon is why there were 3 days apart to start with, right? So the shliach had to go and tell them they robbed you. Then they're running away. And then he went back. Or where he went to chase them. He went to chase them, so he should have caught them on the 4th day. So he didn't wait and he went back to the house first to see what did they rob from him. What did they take from him? They went away so fast, they must have taken something from him. And that's where he found the Trophim were missing. So then he made up the trip and came to caught him from the last 7 days, because he kept going the whole time. So in the household, 6 days he went away, right? It was the 7th day, so then he caught him on that day. So that's what Rashi means. But that doesn't mean that he caught him after the first 4 days, because the first 4 days should be 4 days, not 7 days. Okay, so that's the point of Yaakov. Now, it's strange, some people, if they have a nevuah, God tells them, don't touch Yaakov, right? You would think he'd be afraid. Right? But he says, no. What happened? I can have the power of my hands to do bad to you. But your God said to me, but God yourself don't do anything to Yaakov. But I could do it if I wanted to. The only thing is I'm not looking for trouble from God, so therefore I'll give in and I won't do it. But the way we will understand it is if Lavan would have tried to do something, he would have gotten his head chopped off. Right? So therefore he would have stopped. But he didn't hear. Lavan didn't hear that. So therefore with kfirah, you have that type of kfirah, that he sees certain things that he doesn't have, and he thinks he still can do it. He has the power to do what he wants, but he's not interested in trouble, so he's a user. But he wants the trophy, which Rachel hid, and Yaakov was Mikala, and Mikala cursed the one who stole it, which meant her, and he told the Torah he cursed her with death, and therefore she dies. That's the way over there, the cheshbon. Just don't jump to the last piece in the Chumash for 1 second. It says Yaakov went on his way, and he met Malachim, and he said, "This is when he saw the Smach Elokim, he came Amok Mahim Achanoi." Right. So in other words, he saw Malachim came to greet him, right? In order to say goodbye to him, whatever they were doing, but they came for him. In the next Sedra, Yaakov Avinu is afraid of Esav. He says, Esav is coming and I'm afraid of him. He just saw God sent you Malachim around. Why are you afraid? Right? So he's teaching us a very important lesson. That you're right, there's Malachim. That's the schar I got. But there's Onshim also. God is not a vatron. He doesn't cancel one for the other. What he does is he pays for all good things. Whatever you did good, you're going to get schar. And whatever you did bad, you get an einish for. And there's no way of cancellations. One doesn't cancel out the other. And that's the way is not a vatron. Doesn't cancel. So here, even though you do deserve to have all of the malachim there, at the same time you also deserve maybe to be killed by Yosef. So therefore, one doesn't prove anything. When you see good happens to you, don't think it's good happened. Therefore, God's on my side. No such thing. It's very possible it's not like that. It's very important that you keep that in mind. Whatever good things happen, to know that it's not a guarantee that it's yours. Okay, now maybe you can find something else to say. It seems from the way they set up the matzeva, Yaakov made, Yelova made a matzeva, a single stone, and Yaakov made a gal. That means a bunch of stones, one on top of the other. I'm going to prove when we get to Bolok. It says Lovan, not Lovan. Bilam says to Benish when the Rashi brings it down that they built 7 mizbeches for you. I'm building all 7 for them. They only built 7 all together, all 3 of us. I'm going to build 7 myself. Okay, build 7 myself. And I brought up 2 korbanos on each one, and they only brought up 1 korban on all 7 korbanos. Which one? Which korban was that? That was the korban of the instead of the place of the Yitzchak by the Akeh. That means they built it on this Mizbeach and didn't bother with anything on it. Why? Doesn't make any sense. He said because that wasn't the point of Mizbeach. Mizbeach is an identification of your values. I put up my Mizbeach to show you that I believe in growth. A guy that puts up a matzeva, he believes it's not growth. It's whatever you did, and it's enough. And that's the difference between the two. So he don't have to bring it for a kol. It's not the purpose of it. It happens to be when you want to do something of ruchnis, you're going to put it on a mizbeach. But not that the only reason I make a mizbeach is because I have to makif korbanos. No. Make a mizbeach to identify myself as somebody who believes in a way that growth, constant growth. That's the main thing that we have. Anyway, I'd like to wish you all a good Shabbos. And Yetzer Hashem, you have a cold, so that's why it's a little hard. Yetzer Hashem, you should be well. Have a good Shabbos, everybody. Tzlacha, be well.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos,
Good
Rebbe.
Shabbos.
Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbos.